Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women Talk Construction. Yes, we are on a mission to highlight these stories of women and men who are thriving in these areas of construction, any kind of non traditional role out there. We believe in showcasing how these careers are viable, profitable, and enjoyable. So get ready to be inspired, educated, and motivated by this next conversation. And I'm here with my co host. I'm Angela Gardner, and I'm here with Christi Powell, my co host.
Hello, and we are collaborating with Trimble today, and we're really excited about that.
Yes, we are. This is a very special episode for us. And so, since many of our audience who's listening right now might not know who we are, what we do, or how we even met, Christi, let's share with them how we met.
Great idea.
Yeah, so we actually met on LinkedIn behind the scenes at first during COVID times or the pandemic. And, so the thing that I would say to that is, and I met AJ that way as well, our guest, but is get out there and connect with people no matter how it is.
Yeah.
And make that conversation. You never know where it will take you. Christi and I had this passion, and look at us today.
Yes.
Christi?
Yes.
You want to share any more?
So, yeah, I do actually. So, let me just share that I'd been in the field for 26 years in sales, estimating, budgeting, reading blueprints, doing all the things to learn about products and helping our customers at 84 Lumber Company. And I had this opportunity to be able to work for our support team at our corporate office by handling the women-owned business, and it was scary. And so I had been watching Angela on LinkedIn and saw that she was in business development, and I felt like this role might be something like business development. So I literally reached out to her, didn't know who she was, and said, "Hey, I'm a little scared. Like, I've never done anything like that before. And I'm thinking about taking this role. What do you think?" And she was super nice. And we talked, and then we ended up meeting. And honestly, that was the first time I've ever had a friend in the construction industry, was Angela. And so it opened up an entirely new world for me. Like being able to not be on an island and be able to have a conversation with somebody that understood where I was coming from, could talk about structures with me, could talk about products with me, made a huge difference in my confidence. And I still value her opinion a lot. We laugh about a lot of things. Things have changed a lot. Now we lean on each other. But really and truthfully, no connection you can ever make if you're listening is a bad connection. You just never know where that connection's going to lead. And both of our passions were, let's make sure nobody feels like they're on an island by themselves anymore. That's literally where our passion came from. We don't want anybody to feel like they're on an island. So what can we do? So we decided to start a podcast, and here we are, 76 countries later, 2,116 cities, thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads. And all we care about is sharing other women's stories and making more opportunities for women and students to be able to join one of the most viable career options there is in America. And we need 1 million more people by 2026. So if you haven't seen our TEDx, please go watch it. We talk about the really important topics that are going to make our industry a better place. So Angela is now one of my best friends, and we're really excited today. I mean, when I say really excited today, Angela and I did a TEDx together. I'll let her finish the story, but our guest today not only arrived to watch our TEDx, and I hadn't even met her yet, but she's the dean at Clemson University of Construction, Art, and Architecture.
Founding dean.
Okay, so did I say all that right? Because if you saw her bio,
Art and construction.
Okay, well, I was backwards,
Yeah,
but if you saw her bio, you'd understand why I'm so confused. Like, it is so long and it's so amazing what she's accomplished. But for her to show up at our TEDx in person and bring her people, I'll let Angela tell you more about it. Yeah, talk more.
Well, so
it was an honor.
It was an honor. And by the way, Christi, I think this was the TEDx at Clemson. We had, I think, the most cheering happening.
Yeah.
Now, all of the speakers were great, but we had some amazing women in that audience
We did.
giving like high
Helping each
fives.
other.
Yes, and that meant so much to Christy and I, and we just want to
Great.
thank you for doing that for us.
That's great.
And hopefully we're showing that to others that they need to show up for
Yeah.
others, regardless if you're a man or a woman. Just do it, right? So
Yeah.
AJ is our guest today, and we're gonna let you introduce yourself and kind of a little bit more with our audience about your background and how you came to Clemson. But this lady is absolutely amazing, and recently she was inducted as a fellow of the Masonry Society. And her resume just keeps, I mean, in the accomplishments she's had, the awards she's won. But it's not just that. She has a family. She's a working mom. She is also a huge advocate for everyone, students, anyone that crosses her path. And that makes her very special. So, welcome, AJ.
Thank you. I'll start reverse chronological order because that TEDx was important to me too. It was at the very start of my, journey here at Clemson. I had just arrived and I saw on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh my God, I need to make this happen. I need to show up. And I brought folks from Georgia Tech. I brought some folks from Clemson. And we were so proud of you to deliver that beautiful message and the way you did. I mean, I think the awe is mutual. That you're very inspirational, and thanks for what you do. So I'm Ece Erdogmus. I'm the founding dean at Clemson for the College of Architecture, Art, and Construction. The word founding might be confusing because our programs are well known with over a century history with architecture, over 60 years with construction. It's just a matter of reorganization at the university. So we brought our units together, and they were looking for someone to get it going, and it happened to be me. And I'm very
Yay.
proud. So we too met on LinkedIn. I think when it was announced by Clemson University, you all reached out, and that was amazing. So big fans of your podcast and everything you do. So before that, I was at Georgia Tech, the chair of School of Building Construction, which was amazing journey there. The undergraduate program was coming back, and I really bonded with the Southeast construction industry through those years. And before that, I was at University of Nebraska-Lincoln forever, for a long time as a professor at the Durham School of Architectural Engineering and Construction. And I have degrees in architecture and architectural engineering. So I've always loved built environment, and I'm kind of too balanced between, I think, right and left brain. So I like both the artistic sides and the very technical end of the spectrum. So I love working on the continuum of architecture, engineering, and construction, and not necessarily squarely in one of them. But yes, really excited to be here, and happy to talk further about what are we curious about.
Yeah. Well, let's continue this conversation about your journey because it's very important because, the empowerment through education and STEM education, it's making its headway into the schools. And now we're seeing more career centers opening up, which is huge and well needed. So let's look at like how you go about encouraging more people to enter the field, like structural engineering.
Right.
And then also highlight, because you have told us a little bit about this, but tell us about your studies abroad. That might attract or help these students understand the path they could take. Or even if you're not a student, it could be you could just go over there and want to do it yourself and then come back to the States and further that. So you focused on the history of architecture and construction technology when you traveled. So take a deeper dive into these programs and share with us about that.
Sounds great. So I've always loved buildings, Legos, the putting things together. I love drawing as a child, kind of amazed by like, oh, okay, there was nothing on the paper and kind of create something. And I will give a shout out to my father, passed away about 25 years ago now, a wonderful man. It was a professor, but he loved going on vacations. I'm originally from Turkey. And when we went on vacation, if there was a brown sign, which is a historic site sign in Turkey, he's like, let's dig in and see what's here. And of course, the country is full of historical sites. And I was amazed about like stone on stone. And I think it was all little, pun intended, stones over like where I was heading. I mean, as a little kid, kind of being amazed on how buildings are formed. So at some point when, start making career choices, I'm like, okay, I love math, I love science, but I love buildings, so architecture. So I ended up going to a great school of architecture. And as I went through that, I got more and more intrigued with lesser of the aesthetic design, which I always appreciate and admire. But I got more curious about how does it work? Like, how does it stand up? Like, how do we really make it work? So I kind of looked around what I'm going to do next, as all graduating students do, and ended up coming to Penn State for architectural engineering. My master's was on historic masonry structures. So that first thing, obviously, is a study abroad for me. I came to US to study, and I was blown away how much growth happened just with that move. Set aside the master's degree, I met people from all around the world studying there, having different backgrounds, but I also fell in love with masonry and this interface of architecture, engineering, and construction just with that start. Because masonry arch bridges are interestingly simple and complex at the same time. They're kind of interesting structures. But for my PhD, I studied vaults, domes of Gothic cathedrals in Europe and also Washington, D.C. I'm very proud to say that I was above the vaults in the National Cathedral, doing little testing. But again, it's really curiosity. Now, you did ask about how do I encourage students. So one of the things that really is interesting to me, why do we even struggle attracting people or young youth to these careers? Because amazing buildings and structures and bridges are all around us. We are spending 90% of our time indoors in buildings. So obviously we need to design them and build them. And when they are good, that impact our life in so many good ways. And when they're not so good, it can also reduce our health and well-being.
Yes.
So sometimes I think that piece is missed by the youth, and we need to keep encouraging them to hear we're touching humanity with our built environment in so many ways all day, every day. And I know this because whenever I ask one of my former students, like, what are you most proud of in your career, right? There are architectural engineers out there, construction students out there that, I've touched a little bit, but I've taught a class or mentored or did something. And they almost all give the same answer. You know what I love? I put my family in a car, drive around town, and tell them I've done that building, I worked on that building, I walked on that highway, even like it's a culvert, it's a roadway, it's a pavement. Right. It's such a difference maker, I think, to create our world, the built world. And I just, whenever I catch someone young, whether it's a middle school student or high school student who's like, on the fence about career, I'm like, you gotta get into this career. I don't even mind which end of it you're on.
Right. Who cares which one?
In architecture and engineering or construction, just touch that. It's just amazing. I mean, obviously I'm passionate. So I mean, but traveling is a huge part of that too. As I said, like in my youth, I had that experience, but then I went to Europe out of Penn State to do my work on the PhD. And again, I was blown away because here I'm yet again learning different cultures, studying different historical construction techniques and things like that. So I became very passionate about study abroad when I was a faculty member in Nebraska, especially because I mean, most of the town, students there, some of them had never left Nebraska. So I said, you're studying to become, masters of the built environment. You got to go get out the world. So I led a study abroad program in Italy. It was a touring program. We went all over Italy. And again, the growth I saw from the start to the end, they are learning things that I'm teaching, but they're also growing in like 21 days, becoming new people. And I also took a lot of students to a project in Turkey. We have an archaeological site.
Nice.
Again, they were immersed and learned new things and did things they've never done before and came back different people in a good way. So, yeah, I think all of it goes together. And I can't just say enough about for any student listening, take those opportunities. At Clemson in our college, so good. We have scholarships to go abroad. We have actually a villa in Genoa. We do whatever we can to send students abroad to have that experience and see the world's built environment, not just US.
Yeah. So how do you think the future of building technology is going to affect these new students coming up and the experience that they're going to see in the roles? It's changing already. We've seen that it's changing already, right? So I know that you've always loved bridging the past with the present. And now how about the future? Like, obviously you are 100% like focused on the future right now because you're the founding dean of a department that was never created until you came along, right? So how do you see those, the past and the present and the future working together, empowering women by showing students by showing they can do anything they want, preserving cultural heritage? I think that's so important because the reasons I like to go to cities, I get to travel a lot with my role. When I get to go to cities that are old cities, I'm literally in awe by the architecture, right? So you can't tell me, even though I didn't even like history in school, you can't tell me that doesn't matter. So, how is that going to preserving cultural heritage and advancing careers and highlighting the unique blend of history, culture, and engineering? How is that going to affect the future of building?
So, I mean, we're always building on. So without really understanding, I think, the historical construction methods, why they're still standing. Why is a cathedral from 13th century still standing up? And despite the water issues, maybe despite an earthquake, what made that work? I mean, all the work we do today kind of looks at historical data to kind of make sure we're safe into the future. Now, it is a very exciting time to study and be in these fields because now the options and the possibilities multiplied. We're not limited to what our hands can draw based on what's in our brain.
Right.
We can create the whole building in 3D with all the systems in there. Check crash detection before even a single backhoe is on the field. It's just amazing. It really, I told this story because I'm like the boring teacher, like, oh, you're old. My first internship was at a construction site. I'm a sophomore. And my job was to check as built and then run back to the office and update the AutoCAD drawings. And it was constant, and I kept thinking this, like, why are they building it so wrong?
Why is this so hard?
Like, why is it so hard for them to do the thing that is in the blueprints? And that internship task doesn't exist anymore. Instead, our interns are, in offices doing Revit
Mm-hmm.
drawings or Navisworks. It's just so much fun. Or they're flying drones. I know what they're
Right.
doing. They're having a lot of fun.
Yes.
So I think it's just mind blowing because the options have also, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the options you can have with a degree from either architecture or construction management, you kind of almost make your own path based on what you like about, what you've seen in your internships and in your classes. So, but at the end of the day, you need existing buildings, you need the past, you
Right.
need that know-how to come all this way. So we keep getting better and better. But I'm a big fan of masonry, so preserving all historic construction is dear to my heart, and we have our humanities history in there, right? If we lose that, we won't be able to go back and like this is how they did. So it's not just to look at; it's really a living library. Every building has a lot of knowledge in it that is our own humanities history. So yeah, I think it is a bridge. And so we do usually balance that to show our students both the past, what we can do today, but also robotics and construction and all of that
Mm-hmm.
in our classes and whenever we have the chance to kind of what is coming up.
Right, right. So how do you think women are going to fit into this? Like moving into the future with technology. I've heard from several people that they do count on many women in their organizations to be able to look towards the future with technology. Are you seeing that as well? How do they fit and are they good at it from what you can tell?
Oh, absolutely. I think, I mean, I think all of our students, look, this generation just born into this, right? My
For
8-year-old
sure.
daughter is teaching me how to use my phone. So they are just ready and primed to go to kind of take the technology forward. Women, I think women and men, I think there is going to be a variety of interests. When I talk to students, either Georgia
Mm-hmm.
Tech or here, kind of, hallway conversation. Okay, what internship, what career path you're interested. There's a big mix out there. There's some
Mm-hmm.
who are very adamant, like I'll be a superintendent. That's my passion. I want to be on the
Yeah.
site. And there are some who are really like, no, I like to be in an office. I love virtual
Yeah.
design and construction, and I'll be the rabbit guru of whatever company insert, right? So we have a good mix. I think the students are that's the beauty of it. We're giving them a sampling.
Yeah.
We teach what we can, and then they have so many options and possibilities. Some of them take off and become real estate developers, and we have a
Right.
degree for that.
Yeah.
We have a
Yeah.
master's in that. Some of them move on and plan cities and go even bigger. Like I'm not satisfied with just one building. I want to build cities and
Yeah.
work for City of
I
Greenwell.
love that.
So it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I think that we're going to see a lot more women enter the field now. Do you in the future?
I think so, especially if we keep showing
Talking about
examples.
it. Yeah.
I think there is a former perception. My master's student at Georgia Tech did a survey of high school students, female students, and asked, "What do you think when you hear the word construction?" And this was a general group. They weren't self-selected in terms of in our camp or anything. It was just a general group, and they're like, "Well, it's hard work. It's in the elements." So
Mm,
they kind of came up with, very traditional descriptions. And we asked, "Are you interested or not?" And majority of that group was not interested. There is also research showing high school teachers and counselors may not understand all the options
right.
in our field, so they may not be necessarily guiding the students to come this way. So I think there is work to be done, but I think it is also word of mouth. Like all good business development, the more women are in the business, I think they're seeing it, and their relatives and so are in the business. You all are amazing doing this job, the podcast. So I think it is one of those things we need more examples and discussion around it. But and the 50% of the population, we have labor and CM shortage in the nation. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
do need women to come over and and join the workforce.
Yeah, my mentee is actually a graduate of Clemson University, and she actually went through that program, the Master in Real Estate, and now she's a developer.
Oh,
I'm going
there
to meet
you
with her in a couple of weeks. So,
Yes.
Great.
She's amazing.
yeah. So, the next topic is something that Christy and I often are talking about with our guests because it's definitely on the forefront is sustainability in construction. I mean, it's a thing, and we need to look at that. And we know that, that's one of your focuses as well. So, how does your focus pushing the boundaries of traditional construction, you know, but also serving to inspire, the women in the industry to lead these sustainable initiatives, along with anyone, men, people, everyone. Share with us your ideas around sustainable construction.
So my specific knowledge or expertise was is still on a very specific journey. Several years ago, because of my involvement with masonry, I got invited to a workshop about earth-based blocks. I was like, okay, it's interesting, but it was in Tanzania, and I love traveling. I'm like, okay, I'll go check this out, and so I did, and I'm so glad because that turned into an NSF grant with great collaborators and a long journey on engineered earthen blocks. And the idea actually is obvious. This is a perfect tie into the previous conversation to show an example. This construction method has been around, right? Mud buildings, wherever the climate allows. And even historically, they mixed natural fibers, whatever they can do to increase durability and strength. So a group of us started working in this area, and we experimented with different low cement mixtures into the indigenous soil, and also experimenting with fibers. So we can make with just a little press machine, using the soil ideally that you just excavated, by mixing 10% or less, depending on the soil characteristics, cement or lime or both, and some fibers to create durable, strong blocks that you can use to build. So we had great fun with that in the lab. Actually, my main student, Elena Hoff, also looked at measuring the R factor of our specific recipe, and we published on that. And fast forward, I'm reconnected with a group and through the Masonry Society, and we're working on writing some standards, because a lot of us research this, but it's still a hesitation, especially somewhere like US where it's very code dominant, to use a material like that. So I love that journey. I learned more about the R factors versus thermal mass, because everybody talks about R factor, but there's a whole other aspect to energy efficiency. So, but we are working slowly but surely as a committee to write a standard on earth blocks across, so people can use it in their design. So that is my little main work around that area, but there's so much going on. I have a lot of colleagues doing amazing things, and actually a lot of them are women. So,
nice.
So it is one of those things where when we know it's going to have a positive impact, we really kind of take it to heart and work hard on it, I think.
That's awesome. Well, one of the things that I was thinking of as you were talking, and you've been telling us a lot about how mentorship's really important to you. Can you, we're going to have to end pretty soon, but before we go, can you let the audience know, how do you go about mentoring? Like, is there a formal way that you do it? Is there an organic way that you let it happen? Do you notice somebody doing, how do you, what would your recommendation be to folks that are listening and want to mentor? How do they start?
If for me, it has been organic. Although there was a time at the University of Nebraska, I was assigned as a mentor to a younger female faculty, but I would do it anyway. She's amazing. So I think for it to work, the organic works the better. So you kind of get gravitated towards each other. It starts with a question. It starts with a conversation. And I would just say, if you're the mentee to be, don't be shy. Reach out to someone.
Yeah.
Ask a question. Even ask to have a coffee. And a lot of times the answer might be maybe not once because I'm busy, but it may be
Yeah.
sure I have right now. What do you have? So, but if you're looking to mentor, we absolutely have students, and some actually architecture started a mentorship program. So there are ways we can hook you up to mentor students.
Nice.
But so there, it's a mixture really. But for me, I like sharing my story. I'm very open and transparent. So if someone comes and says like, "Hey, how do you deal with this kind of challenge? It's really bugging me," I will pour my heart and soul out to tell you all about it. So I think organic mentorship works the best.
Well, thank you for
Yes.
pouring your heart out for us
Oh.
today. We really appreciate you and all that you do to support other women. And for those women that are listening today, I hope that you're really inspired by this conversation. Big thank you to Trimble
Yes.
for allowing us to be able to have this interview today and to inspire women during Women in Construction Week. And thank you to Angela, my co-host, and to AJ for being on today and for just doing great things every day. Every minute of the day, both of you are constantly thinking of ways to fulfill your passion of helping more people enter our construction industry and building women up so they don't feel like they're the only one. So as we close, stay tuned for more Women Talk Construction and Trimble collaborations. We're going to have more than just this one. There's going to be a couple more this year. Keep building, keep inspiring, and build your dreams and opportunities. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Trimble.